You probably think of your brain as the boss. Every decision you make, every move your hand makes, starts in your head and travels out from there. That's just how thinking works. Except for one animal, that's not true at all. There's a creature alive right now in tide pools and reef crevices and aquarium tanks around the world whose arms don't wait for permission. They think for themselves. They make decisions the rest of the body doesn't know about. And the strangest part is the animal itself doesn't seem to mind. The octopus didn't evolve one mind to run the body. It evolved 9. For a long time, the assumption about intelligence was simple. A brain sits at the top like a control room. It receives information, makes a decision, and sends out commands. Muscles and limbs are just the hardware. They do what they're told. This is how it works in humans. It's how it works in dogs, birds, almost every animal we've ever studied closely. The brain is command central, and the body is the delivery system. When scientists first started studying the octopus' nervous systems, they assumed the same structure would apply, just scaled up or down. A central brain giving orders, arms, following them. It seemed like the obvious starting point. It also turned out to be almost completely wrong. Here's the first thing that didn't add up. An octopus has around 500 million neurons in total, which is roughly the same as a dog. But when researchers actually mapped where those neurons live, something strange showed up. Only about a third of them are in the central brain. The other 2/3, somewhere around 350 million neurons, are out in the arms. Not as wiring, not as cables carrying signals back to headquarters, as clusters, as processing centers, as what researchers have started calling, only half-jokingly, mini brains. So what are those 350 million neurons actually doing out there? This is where it gets stranger. Each arm contains its own dense network of neural clusters called ganglia, running down its entire length. And these clusters don't just relay messages, they process sensory information and initiate movement on their own. Scientists studying live octopuses found that when an arm explores an object or searches for food, it isn't always waiting for instructions. Sometimes the brain sends out something closer to a general suggestion, search over there, and the arm itself works out the details, where to bend, how tight to grip, which sucker to use first. The brain doesn't know the answer to any of that. It doesn't need to, the arm handles it. And the arms don't just act alone, they coordinate with each other directly. There's a neural ring running through the octopus that lets the arms exchange information without looping back through the brain at all. So while the central brain isn't entirely sure where each arm is in space at any given moment, the arms know where each other are. They keep each other from tangling. They take turns. They cooperate arm to arm in a conversation the brain isn't part of. It gets even stranger when you look at the suckers. Each octopus arm is covered in hundreds of suckers, and each one contains around 10,000 neurons of its own. That's enough to taste, smell, and feel independently, sucker by sucker. Researchers have described it as something like combining a hand with a tongue and a nose, except there are hundreds of them, all reporting in at once, all along just one arm. And then there's the skin. Octopus skin can detect light and respond to it, without sending anything to the eyes or the brain at all. The same light-sensitive proteins found in the eyes, called opsins, also exist scattered across the skin's surface. When light hits the skin directly, it can trigger the color-changing cells underneath, called chromatophores, to expand or contract right then and there. The skin isn't just camouflage, it's a sensory organ that can react to its environment before the brain even knows what's happening. Step back, and what you're looking at isn't really one mind controlling a body. It's something closer to a loose coalition, a central brain that sets broad goals, 8 arms that each have enough processing power to handle their own decisions, hundreds of suckers per arm doing their own sensing, and skin that's quietly reacting to light on its own terms. Nothing about this resembles how a human or a dog or a bird is built. We're used to intelligence having a single seat, one mind, looking out through 2 eyes, making the calls. The octopus is something else. Some researchers studying this have pointed out that if we ever do encounter a genuinely alien intelligence, one that evolved with no connection to our own evolutionary tree, this might be the closest preview we get. Not a bigger brain, not a faster brain, a completely different architecture for what a mind even is. And it didn't evolve on some distant planet, it evolved here in the ocean the entire time. If you've ever watched Octopus's footage, there's a moment that probably stuck with you without you knowing why. One arm reaching into a crevice, while the rest of the body seems to be doing something else entirely. We tend to ask whether animals are smart the way we're smart, whether they can solve the puzzles we'd solve, remember the things we'd remember, think in a straight line the way our one brain insists on doing. The octopus quietly sidesteps the entire question. It was never trying to think like us. The octopus didn't evolve one mind to run the body. It evolved 9. And somewhere on a reef right now, one of those minds is making a decision the rest of it hasn't heard about yet.